Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Sherrick, and today you will be listening to the presentation of Look to the Stars, Science Fiction and the Future of Humanity. To begin, we have a short intro video. Star Trek The Next Generation.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Okay, so that was our introduction into Star Trek The Next Generation. Star Trek is a Type 2 civilization, which I will talk about later. So my thesis: due to the human drive for technological advancement, humanity will be able to meet and exceed the conceived technology seen from a variety of science fiction mediums. This will cause the human race to flourish as it progresses through the various stages of civilization and evolution. So to begin, what is science fiction? Science fiction is defined as any sort of entertainment used that portrays future technology or technology that is yet within our reach. It doesn't qualify as anything sort of like magical, like the Lord of the Rings or anything. That would be fantasy. Science fiction requires some degree of technology that is achievable without supernatural means. So to begin with, we have a couple of examples of science fiction. We have, of course, Star Wars, the first film made in 1977, and ever since it came out, it is the poster boy for science fiction. It is one of the most popular movies ever and a series, and it is the third highest grossing series of films ever made. On the lower left-hand corner, we have the symbol for Starfleet, of course, from Star Trek. The Starfleet is a Type 2 civilization, meaning it goes out and it explores different worlds. We'll talk more about that later. And then up in the right-hand corner, we have 1984 by George Orwell. 1984 is about a ruling minority of people, and they use technology in the form of telescreens and thought police and all this to basically enslave the other 98% of the population of the world. And on the lower right-hand corner, we have a video game. Yes, video games are science fiction mediums. That particular video game is Star Trek, which is a Type 2 civilization massive, similar to Star Trek. So how do we define a civilization? How do you categorize them? Obviously, the civilization seen in Back to the Future in the past is a lot different than what you see in the future parts of Back to the Future in 2015. We classify civilizations by the Kardashev scale. Andrei Kardashev was a Russian cosmonaut and astronomer, and in the 1960s he theorized different levels of civilization: Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3. The original scale only had 3 levels of civilizations, but today you'll see Types 4 and 5 as added on by theoretical physicists throughout time. When Kardashev originally made his scale, he classified the civilizations by the amount of energy that they could produce. That was his biggest factor in categorizing a civilization. But since then, other theoretical physicists have come in and added onto a scale, including giving each level more characteristics, such as politics, culture, military defense, and technology. And you'll see today how different levels of civilization seen in science fiction mediums have similar technologies, and how they have similar cultures and social mindsets and stuff of the like. Alright, so in Kardashev's 3 original scales, we have Type 1, which is planetary, where the dominant race of a planet achieves total mastery of that home planet. Type 2 is the interstellar level. That's when civilizations start to branch out to other worlds, they start to colonize habitable planets, and they start to explore space and seek out new civilizations like in Star Trek. And then Type 3 is the galactic scale. That's the level of Star Wars. That's when the entire galaxy has kind of been discovered, and you have all of the species that inhabit that galaxy come together and form a galactic community. So, where are we? We're not Type 1 yet, so where are we now? Current humanity is Type 0. It's a Type 0 civilization. What does a Type 0 look like? As far as energy capacity, it uses mostly fossil fuels and non-renewable resources to sustain itself. Although in other aspects, it has many wars within the dominant species, and is very socially and culturally primal. Why is that? Why are modern humans today kind of primal? Why do we have wars so much? One could look back through history and come to the conclusion that all human history has been is a series of civil wars. Why? The reason is because we are infants. On the right here, you see the geologic clock for Earth. The clock puts the amount of time that the Earth has been here at this point in space, and puts all of its history on one clock. So, like, at around 4 billion years ago, that's when the first life started happening. The Earth is 4.6 billion years old. And then, of course, you have dinosaurs about 230 million years ago. That's this little orange part here. And up here on the tip top, you can see a slice of red. You probably wouldn't even be able to see it from where you're sitting because it's so small. That is 2 million years ago. That's when the first humans started inhabiting Earth. We are infants compared to the rest of this history. And as any infant, we are growing up, we are learning, and of course we're going to make mistakes and we're going to learn from them. That's what a Type 0 civilization does until it reaches Type 1. As I said before, Type 1 is the planetary, and the entire planet is unified by the dominant culture. But for now, I'm going to talk about my service learning project. My service learning project will take place on BASC, the Birmingham Senior Center, on April 28th. We're going to have it from 5 to 8 p.m. And what we're doing is we're telling senior citizens who are members of BASC to bring in any Apple product that they don't know how to use. So iPhones, iMacs, laptops, tablets, phones, iPods, all of it. We are going to have them bring their technology into BASC, and we are having high school students teach them how to use their products. Again, that's on April 28th from 5 to 8 p.m. So, Type 1. What is a Type 1 civilization? As I said before, it is a planetary civilization. As far as energy, a Type 1 civilization mostly uses renewable resources, and they completely use all of the energy that is capable of being produced by their home planet. Also, as in a Type 1, the government, the military style, and the culture is very unified. And I'll show you what I mean. We have the privilege of growing up, being alive, in a time where we are seeing the transition from Type 0 to Type 1. Type 0, the dominant species is fractured both culturally, socially, nationally, but in a Type 1, that's when things start to become unified. That's when the dominant species starts to come together, and instead of acting in self-interest, the species acts as a whole. So where are we seeing the transitions to Type 1? I have up here 4 examples. We have NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was originally made in the 1900s to combat communism, but today it has dozens of member countries, and they all have the one doctrine that if any one country is attacked, it is to be considered an attack on all. That is a very Type 1 way of thinking. An attack on one is an attack on all. That's where you have different countries coming together and having a united defense against any threat to their existence. And then to the right, you see the flag of the European Union. The European Union is a Type 1 economic system. The European Union is composed of several European countries that have exclusive trading rights, and they also have one thing in common. They use the euro. The euro is a Type 1 currency. And then down there we have the United Nations. The United Nations isn't very effective at all today, but the concept of the United Nations is a Type 1 concept, where all of the nations in the world get together, all of the leaders of the world come together, and they come together in one joint space in order to solve the world's problems. That's a Type 1 concept. And then last but not least, we have the Internet. The Internet is a Type 1 telephone system. The Internet allows for near instant communication of thoughts and ideas and knowledge across anywhere in the world. The Internet is responsible. It had a large part in the Arab Spring, where it actually brought down dictators like Mubarak in Egypt or Gaddafi in Libya. What are the 2 most common languages on the Internet? English and Mandarin. This is the beginning of a Type 1 language. What's after Type 1? Of course, Type 2. Type 2 is the interstellar level of civilization. At the interstellar level, after the species has kind of dominated its home world and become unified, it starts to branch out to other worlds, and it starts exploring and finding new civilizations and strange new worlds, and going where no man has gone before. At Type 2 civilization, the civilization is able to harness the energy of suns. Suns have a tremendous amount of energy. If you built an ice bridge, a bridge made of pure ice, from here to the sun, all those hundreds of thousands, if not millions of miles away, and the bridge is 2 miles wide and 1 mile height from here all the way to the sun gives off enough energy to completely melt the entire ice bridge in 1 second. That's the power of our sun. And a Type 2 civilization can harness that power and use it for energy. It's astronomical amounts of energy. And as I said before, they branch out and they explore different civilizations. And Type 2 is really where you start to uncover alien species. And you start to kind of form a little bit of a community. But the main thing in Type 2 is that once you discover alien species, you compete with them for territory and resources, just like countries do today. It will become that level of competition, only on a much larger scale. It is the level of Star Trek. And then Halo. Halo is a very popular video game series. In Halo, humanity has reached Type 2 civilization where it has colonized other worlds, and then it also comes across an alien group known as the Covenant. The Covenant is a conglomerate of alien species unified by a religion, and the leaders of the Covenant convince the rest of the species that humanity is an affront to their religion and declare war on humanity. This is a very pessimistic view of the future. If a civilization has reached Type 2, it has matured by leaps and bounds. Just like in Star Trek, like they've gotten rid of currency, they've gotten rid of all slavery and indentured servitude. They've advanced socially and culturally and morally. However, the potential does exist for a group like the Covenant to declare war on us, but as I said, it would be very unlikely because all species who reach Type 2 will have a certain level of maturity to them. And then, at the last picture, we have Mass Effect. Mass Effect is a similar kind of medium to Star Trek. In Mass Effect, humanity has branched out, it has colonized other worlds, and it has also come across a society, a galactic society of different species, and they struggle to find their place in society and to promote humanity. So after Type 2, we have Type 3. Type 3 is a level of Star Wars. In Star Wars, we have a galactic community of species where nobody really cares if you're a human or if you're, a different species. It's all coming together as one galactic society. And they also have advanced technology, obviously blasters and lightsabers, making hod-like constructs. That's a very Type 3 technology. As I said before, they're a galactic civilization. They can harness the entire power of a galaxy. We can't even conceive that amount of power. We're not able to conceive it. We can't imagine. But it's huge. Huge is an understatement. And then they have technology which allows for galactic travel, and they even start to investigate other galaxies as well. That's what Type 3 does. Type 4, there's not really any sort of science fiction medium to compare Type 4 to. They are way more advanced than Type 3, obviously. A Type 4 civilization is able to harness the entire power of the universe. The entire universe. All of the stars, all of the galaxies within it, a Type 4 civilization can achieve mastery over the universe. In addition to harnessing the power of, say, suns, they are also able to harness the power of quasars and black holes. Black holes, for example, are a space phenomenon in which a black hole appears in space and it sucks in everything around it. It's like quicksand, except space. And nothing escapes this thing. It's believed to have infinite density, and therefore nothing escapes from it, not even light. That's why it's a black hole. And when you can harness the power of those, you just can't imagine what a Type 4 civilization can achieve. No one can. Type 5 is one of the most interesting, because you have Type 4 harnessing the power of an entire universe. What can Type 5 possibly do? They can harness the power of the multiverse. The multiverse is a theory in physics that states that we exist in our own universe at our own specific time with our own specific history. But at the same time, occupying the same space at the same time is a series of infinite realities in which maybe even one or two significant events have changed, but it's almost unrecognizable to us. Let me give you an example. There's something called the butterfly effect, where a butterfly flapping its wings can alter a hurricane and have dramatic effects for the future. Let me give you another example, because that one's kind of hard to imagine. Say a little girl sees a butterfly one day, and she is mesmerized by its beauty. It boggles her mind. She can't believe that something so beautiful actually exists. And it sparks an interest in her, and it becomes her passion. She studies science in school, she goes into the medical field for college. She becomes a world-renowned doctor, and she cures cancer. And she forever removes cancer from the human race. Now imagine, what if somebody had killed that butterfly 5 seconds before the little girl had seen it? Just 5 seconds. The little girl never would have seen the butterfly. The little girl never would have studied science in high school. No, the little girl never would have become a doctor. The little girl never would have cured cancer, and cancer would continue to ravage the human race. That is the power of one single, seemingly insignificant event. But however, it's a reality that we are faced with every day. And the multiverse is a theory that states that, yes, in a different reality, we have already cured cancer. In a different reality, America is still part of England. In a different reality, we are already a type 1 civilization. The multiverse is the theory that there are an infinite amount of realities in which anything, literally anything you can possibly imagine and more, are happening right now. And a type 5 civilization has the technology to explore the multiverse. A type 5 civilization that some might be familiar with is the Q Continuum from Star Trek, especially The Next Generation. The Q Continuum are a race of gods in every sense of the word. They can create and destroy matter, they can make anything appear, disappear, they can warp reality, change reality. They have every superpower that you could possibly imagine, hence the Superman picture. And they can do anything. They're immortal. They can make anything happen as long as they can imagine it. That's the power of the Q. They are gods in every sense of the word. And at a type 5, all of the members of a type 5 civilization have that capability. That's what they have. And at a type 5 civilization, we can't really imagine what people of a type 5 civilization are like. It's just, it'll take place in millions, if not billions of years from now. And it would be a very interesting time to be alive. So, in conclusion, we have the Kardashev scale. The Kardashev scale categorizes civilizations based on the amount of energy that they can produce. Right now, the world is a type 0 civilization. We have a series of civil wars across our species raging almost non-stop. However, we are in our infancy. We are learning. We are growing. Eventually, we will reach type 1, in which the entire planet will be unified. At type 2, we will take on the role of explorers, seeking out strange new civilizations and exploring new worlds. At type 3, we will come together as a galactic community with every alien species in our galaxy. At type 4, we will explore the entire universe and be able to unlock its secrets. At type 5, we will ascend to a whole new level of existence as we become godlike in our powers and abilities. And that's just the start. The future of humanity looks bright indeed as we look to the stars. Thank you. Am I excited? Thank you for watching. And this next slide is personally my favorite slide in the entire presentation. Questions? Thank you.